So, of course, Solstice of Heroes has been out for a while, and I know a lot of you want to know my thoughts on the event, but I want to talk about something else that came with this event. Concerns! Because we love concerns. Now, of course, this is my opinion, and I know that not everyone will agree with it. So, if you have your own thoughts, your own opinion on this topic, leave in the comments down below. So, the concern, of course, that I'm talking about is the Eververse shop. Just the microtransactions in general. We'll talk about Bright Dust, Silver, prices of things, how events are going to work going forward, like what could happen and what has already happened and what they can do to make sure that things are in the up and up. You know, positive for the community. Now, I know a lot of you out there could probably say, well, I don't buy things from the shop, so it doesn't bother me at all. I don't have to, bother with that. But the problem with that is, just like with other companies in general, once they make a small dip into doing something, it turns into a bigger dip. And it can start to bother the people who don't really care about the microtransactions, where certain things go a little bit too far. But I don't really think Bungie would do that. Honestly, for me, personally, I have a lot of hope and faith in Bungie that they'll do the right thing because they are solely responsible on everything that they do now. Like, they are making all the rules, making all the decisions, so they can't be like, well, don't say anything, it was this company instead. Like, it is them, entirely them now. So they really need to rely on our positivity of them with their games, with them as a company as a whole. So I don't see them doing anything that would negatively impact, the positivity of the community. But I'm still going to talk about it because I don't want them to make bad decisions. So for starters, with this new event, it brought in concerns about the item shop because there have been some changes. And one of them notably that was removed entirely, which is the double engram drop mechanic. If you don't remember, in Dawning and stuff, and just in general, any of the free events, every time you would level up, you would always get a bright engram. Well, you would get 2 during the event. 1 for the season, and 1 for that event. And that was something that was very good at the time, because number 1, you're getting a lot of bright dust. Number 2, you were chancing on getting the item that you wanted alone. Most of the time, people would tell me that they never had to spend a single dime on the item shop because they got what they wanted out of the double engram drop. Of course, you can't get those items at all anymore unless you spend straight up bright dust or silver. So the disappointing thing is that there was no compromise when it came to this event. And you can clearly tell that there was not really an idea to make things a little bit more fair on the bright dust costs, because the individual glows were 5,000 bright dust each, which is pretty heavy, with a price of 800 silver if you wanted to pay silver instead. I do like that option though, like having the, you could buy it with silver or you could buy it with bright dust. That was great. But the prices, of course, was pretty heavy, especially with how rare bright dust is at the moment. We'll talk about what they could do to make bright dust less of a problem, and some ideas that they can do, because, of course, going forward, loot boxes are having an uncertain future. At this point, we have no idea what's going to happen to them, but it's being more and more pushed to where they are going to be not allowed anymore in games. And I've always been somebody that completely agrees on that. I feel like loot boxes are like a gambling problem and should not be in the game. I feel like having item shop kind of things are a lot better because it's more lines where, you can buy this directly or you don't have to. So it really pushes the whole, you must have, decent prices if you want people to buy these things. So, okay, that's all right. I've never been completely negative about microtransactions in games. I've always treated it as like a tip jar. If I really like what a company is doing, if I like the game so much, if I'm spending so much time in the game, maybe I'll buy a few things here and there. But here's the thing. Not everyone likes to do that, and not everyone has the money to do that. So the biggest thing is Bright Dust. Bright Dust is a big importance now, more than ever. And if you were to try and save up 5,000 Bright Dust within the weeks of this event, you're going to have a bad time, because you're probably not going to even come close to 5,000. And that sucks. Problem is that I feel like companies don't really care about the time and effort that players put in, and what that basically results in the end for said like items in like the item shop. I feel like what Bungie should do is not go full greed. So they've already made a statement that going forward, the bright engrams are going to basically go away. I guess that's the no more best of engram either. But they've also mentioned that everything you dismantle from the Eververse shop and stuff will only turn into Glimmer and Legendary shards. On top of this, anything that you reacquire from the collections will also just be from Glimmer and Legendary shards. So no more Bright Dust on the dismantling and the acquiring. So, okay. But that, again, leads to an issue of, okay, what am I going to get Bright Dust from? Now, they said that they're going to have Bright Dust drop from regular daily bounties as well, like, Vanguard bounties and stuff. Now, the problem with that is that sounds great on paper, but it could be like pennies on the amount of Bright Dust that you get. Even if you were to spend all your time doing all those bounties, is it worth it in comparison to what the amount of Bright Dust that we get? Every time we level up, you have a chance of getting, I would say, roughly around to 100 Bright Dust to like 500 or more, depending on your luck. But either way, you're getting a decent amount of Bright Dust from, leveling up. Now, that was the other thing that I don't know what they plan on doing. I feel like they should do something where every time you level up, you get a currency of Bright Dust, an RNG chance of amounts of Bright Dust, or a guaranteed amount. I feel like a good amount for every time you level up should be around roughly 200 to 500 Bright Dust. Now, that sounds great. I don't know if they'll do that. Because I don't know what they plan on doing when it comes to the Bright Dust stuff. At first, I thought, honestly, the only things we would ever have to spend Bright Dust on was going to be the Eververse shop. But then the Tribute Hall happened, and I'm like, uh-oh. Hopefully they don't do that ever again with other things. Like, if you want to buy this weapon, you use Bright Dust. That would be a big problem, because then it starts driving things into terrible directions. But no, either way, I feel like they can definitely find a compromise for the future of these events. One thing for sure is that because they're not going to do the double engram drops, is maybe during events, every time you level up, you get double Bright Dust every time you level up. And or also having the bounties from the event have a ton of Bright Dust each bounty. So every day that you would do the bounties on each character, you would get a lot of Bright Dust in the end. Like, that definitely would help you work towards getting those things for free. Or not. Maybe you're just going to do that to grind Bright Dust and hold on to it for a different time, where you want to just spend a lot of Bright Dust. I feel like they need to do the one thing that I don't see a lot of games doing much anymore, which is rewarding players that are very invested in your game and allowing them to buy things for free because of how much time that they're putting into it, rather than punishing everyone in just, in general, making it a difficult situation. Now, this method of the double Bright Dust thing is pretty good for even casual players. If you're not playing that much during the non-events, I feel like the seasons will be like that big influx of like Bright Dust that helps you ensure that you're going to get things for free. But again, still having that option on silver prices instead. I feel like if they were to even make certain things cheaper with bright silver and stuff, that will make people just be like, I'll just buy it with silver. So, I mean, if they're that afraid of people just, stacking up on Bright Dust. But again, the main point is that we're trying to find a compromise. Because as of right now, there was none. There wasn't really much of a compromise when they did this new event. It was still the same. You get 1 engram every time you level up. Nothing big on that, on difference. There was no bright dust in the Eva Levante bounties. There was no bright dust inflation in like the bright best of year 1 engrams, like when you would turn those in. There was nothing like that at all, and instead the bright dust prices were still very high during this event. So that is the big concern that everyone is having when it comes to the item shop, is wondering if Bungie is going to go more fair, at least, than greed. Because if we go backwards, I don't know. For me, to be honest, as long as it stays cosmetic, it's not big of a deal. But when it comes to these free events, this is why I say to people that don't care about the item shop, these free events, you know, they pay for themselves and then some. And that would, more of the lines should be resulting into better content for annual passes, which I could see them doing better on that. That means, Bungie, strikes and Crucible maps, every annual pass, come on. Strikes, PvP maps, at least one per annual pass thing, please. I like strikes, and I like PvP maps. Don't leave us hanging. Maybe some Gambit maps, I don't know. But that's like the bottom of the list. I'm fine with the other two. But on top of this also could mean that during the event, there's more content. Like, for example, with Solstice of Heroes, with the amount of prices and stuff to things and whatever, maybe have 2 EAZs, like 2 different types. They probably will do that for like next year, but this means also with the Dawning, maybe not just do the weird, gifting thing with baking. Maybe do something that's along the lines of an activity to do that's really fun and holiday and festive-like. I know we're going to get the Haunted Forest again, most likely. Maybe they should do something really fun with that even further. I don't know. But the point is that we need to figure out a compromise. And from the value of these things that they're doing, on how much they're getting out of the events, maybe do more with these events, do more with the annual pass, do more in general. For me personally, I really do like what they're doing with the events. They're not perfect. Like, Crucible is sometimes a mess with how they do things, and I'll talk about that in my event thoughts. But I do like the whole idea of there's an activity to do, and then there's these buffs that you get that happen anywhere you go. But there should be a limit on that, which I'll talk about that again on the event video. But I don't know. I don't want to go too much into that. I just wanted to share my thoughts on the Bright Dust issue, the item shop issue, and just kind of talk about that. So if you have any thoughts that you would like to share on a better compromise, or if you don't agree with what I'm saying and you want to tell me what you think, or if you agree, let me know why. Just in general, let me know what your thoughts are on this topic in the comments down below. And because I'm very curious on what you guys think. So either way, thank you so much for listening, everybody. And stay Chibi-tastic. Chibi out.